It's kind of the opposite because we have a better like we were more privileged in Vietnam because we were the people who stand towards the Vietnamese people during the war. So after the war, because we won, so like after the war, we get privileged by the government. So over there it's better for us, but because my mother loved the weather here, so yeah, so she came here. But I know a lot of stories that people who are here, who immigrated here, they well, they don't like Vietnam and like at all, because whenever you mention Vietnam or do you want to go back to Vietnam, they would say no, because the war, because they during the war they supported the Americans. So that's why like when we won the war, that like the government took everything away from them, you know, all the privilege they got when they were supporting the American. So well, it's not like, you know, there's no bad and good during wars, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So they got everything got taken away from them, and then that's why like they went to America. And yeah, and so that's why like they don't like Vietnam. Usually, like when I say I'm Vietnamese, people just well, there's two things that people talk to me about. One is do you speak French? Because yeah, do you speak French? I'm like, no. And then okay, so do you know what about the Vietnam War? I'm like, okay, yeah, like my family was in it, but I was not in it because, you know, I'm 20, you know. So they're like, oh yeah, and they start talking about the Vietnam War. But it's the interesting thing is, for different people, they have different opinions about the war and a different experience about the war. So like some people, when they heard that I'm Vietnamese, they're just like, oh, okay, you know. So it's like, I don't know, the bad memory for them, like, you know, something that's affiliated with the war and Vietnam. So something, there's a connection and I don't like it. But some people are like, oh, you know, we're sorry we came, like their attitude is kind of like, oh, we're sorry, like we came to your country and this and that. Some people are like, oh, you know, it was like we're trying to help you, so we came there, you know, but it didn't work out, so we just leave. So there's just like different stories about the war, and I mean, it's interesting to hear about that because there's no true story, you know, because you don't really know what's true and what's not. So like, yeah, I hear a lot about it, like a lot. I think they know more about the war than I do, even when they're not Vietnamese.
Yeah.
No, my family is it's a mellow family, so they're really open-minded. So the way they see the war, it's just, even though like, you know, well, war, they see it's like war is something that you don't want, you know, it just when it happens you have to go with it, you know. So like what my family sees is as like I don't know, it's like you have to go with the flow and that's it, you know. It's not like something you can like plan, you know, you have to go with the flow. And then when I was like little, they're thinking of Americans are still kind of closed-minded, like because that's how they saw the Americans when they were in Vietnam during the war, right? So like they're like, oh, the Americans are, you know, well they're strong and they're just trying to take our country away, you know. It's kind of like that. But now the way they see Americans are different. They're like, oh, they're just people, just friendly people.
Yeah, and Paul Newman was like that too.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason why my mother decided to immigrate to America, because she thinks that the people here, their lifestyle it kind of matches my family's style. Yeah. Well, my grandparents like unfortunately passed away, but when I got a chance to like talk to them about that, it's like they didn't mention anything about hate. They mentioned about like what happened more, you know. So they're like, oh, this is what happened, that happened, and you know, we were all scared, everyone was scared, and then like, you know, they didn't really mention anything about hate.